All right, this is a 2013-2014 Cadillac ATS 2-liter turbo. When this came in here, it had braking problems, and like you didn't have any brake assist, and there was a code in the computer for P0171 lean code. Basically, what we ended up having to do is, I have a previous video on it, we had to pull the valve cover assembly and stuff off, the vacuum pump off on the back of the engine back here. See, it's nice and shiny, it's new. That was leaking down the back of the engine. It was a major oil leak. Once we pulled all that apart, we could see that there was just chunks of the housing down inside around the camshaft. So we cleaned all the metal and stuff off of it, put a new gasket, put a new pump and stuff on there, hooked everything back up, and then we start chasing this lean code. Now these are real notorious about these plastic lines breaking here. You see this line here? How they got this steel braid and then it turns right here? Well, these crack around these fittings right here, and then it'll come down to this T. They'll crack around the junction here. They'll crack here, here. They'll crack over here. This has all been replaced. It's newer. And they'll start sucking air, and you'll get lean codes, P0171. Well, what I did was I took a smoke machine and I smoked the intake manifold, and a ton of smoke started coming from underneath the intake manifold. Let me tell you what. It's about a 4.5 hour job to get this intake manifold out and get it back in there, because there's so much stuff that has to come apart. You got to pull the reservoir out of it to get it out of there. I took this bar loose so I had a little bit more room in case I butted into it. I clamped my coolant lines with coolant clamp, flat jaw coolant clamp pliers. And then I took the generator out and laid it face down because down here there's a bolt that's hidden. You got to have a long ratcheting 10mm ratchet to get this bolt out, to get the intake manifold out. Then I fished the intake manifold out of it, and then right back here on the back of the engine, in this area, I seen this line that I could not find at first that goes to the motor mount. It goes underneath the vehicle to the motor mount down there. That ties into the vacuum system that goes to your booster. See that silver line back there, that silver covered line? It goes back there to your pump, then it goes across the back, and then it ties into your intake manifold. Well, that had just fallen off of there, and it was just sucking all kinds of air, causing that lean code. Well, now I got to get a new vacuum line, because that area was so brittle that it just basically fell apart. When I was pulling the intake manifold off, trying to get that connection undone from the intake manifold, it just fell apart. And while I was smoking the intake, what ended up happening is I could see it just pouring out of this little nipple right here where that junction goes into. This part right here plugs into the intake manifold. It goes like this, kind of like this back behind. And then this tube here plugs into this junction. It plugs into it right here, like that. And this tube had come off that nipple and was just sucking air through that system, causing that lean code. So, I've got a new tube coming in, because this obviously was not in the best shape and just broke straight off. So any of the plastic lines that are on this engine are notorious for sucking air and breaking and becoming brittle and cracking. So you're going to want to check them every time you get a 171 code on these engines. Even the V6 171, 174 does the same exact thing. Plastic lines. And it could be anywhere that it's leaking. Y'all be blessed. Take care, and I hope this helps somebody in the future.